And welcome everybody on IMSA.com. Thanks for joining us here on our global web feed. We are live from Circuit of the Americas, the Lone Star Le Mans weekend at this already legendary facility. And it is qualifying for the TUDOR United Sports Car Championship. 4 different classes. The first group coming out onto the track right now is GT Daytona. It is the biggest field of the 4 categories that we have. And again, a 15-minute qualifying session. There'll be a short break, then we get right into GTLM, then a slightly longer break, right into PC, Prototype Challenge, and then we finish with the wicked quick prototypes around this amazing facility. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Jonathan Green and Shea Adam, and boy, what a day we have already had here, folks. It's been spectacular. We've had races, we've had practice sessions, and now we've got this superb qualifying session that's about to unfold, Jonathan. And thus far, after a wet start to the day, it's been holding off.
Yeah, I'm delighted that we go into qualifying in this situation, which is we've just had a practice for everybody involved in this qualifying session, whereby it's dry. And as you can see, there are a few damp patches, but in terms of a race line and in terms of conditions out there right now, it's absolutely bone dry, and therefore we can really start to see, we started to see at the end of the last session, the times dropping down, and I think they'll drop down further. I think everybody was using this session because it has been variable, it has been tough. There hasn't been the rubber. I think Shea made a great point. As much. You can still see the marbles down here as we go past on the main straight here, but there hasn't been as much rubber down because of the rain. The Continental Tire Challenge usually putting down some more rubber for them, and they haven't had that. So it is a changeable feast today.
Yes, we did have a 2-hour race not too long ago, 2.5 hours. We only got 2 hours of green flag because of a crash, but that usually puts down a good foundation for these cars, and they are used to running immediately after the race to do their practice and qualifying, and they don't have that advantage this weekend. All the GTD cars are running on the Continental tire. They're used to having a little bit more grip perhaps, but the rain has washed all of that away. These guys are out there. They did put down times relative to what they put down this morning before all the rain happened, but we should expect to see these times dropping as the session progresses.
Oh, I think so. We're looking for some quick times. By the way, there's a look at Jerome Bleekemolen, who was fastest in that hour session right before qualifying, which is usually a bit of an indicator. The other thing to mention here for everybody joining us, you can't tell it, obviously, from just watching. It is wicked hot and humid here. With all of this moisture in the air, it is unusually humid even for this area, but the temperatures are right up there as well. So these drivers, particularly in these closed cockpit cars, they're basically in an oven out there driving around the track right now, and this is going to be furious. I can't wait to see some of these times start to come in.
When you get to some of the cars, they do have regulated temperatures according to the rules. Corvette Racing actually feeds air into their car that is 78 degrees, so the drivers are breathing in the cooler air. It helps them perform better. They're in the GT Le Mans category, which will be qualifying next. GTD is a little bit different. They don't have the same rules. They don't necessarily have the air conditioning, but what they do use are called cool suits, which pump water around the driver to help get their core temperature down. And for a 15-minute session, it shouldn't deplete these drivers of all their energy.
No, not at all, and that's a good point. The GTLM cars, they run, on the ACO Le Mans regs, which require equipment in the car to keep that temperature at a certain rate. The other classes don't necessarily deal with that. Here is a look. We're just getting lots of different cars out on the track. This is one of the cars that the drivers, along with the team, in the team championship and the drivers championship, share the point lead. So there's 2 races to go, including this one. There's so much on the line here, and the best place to start a serious run at a championship in the final few races is from the front of your class. So is qualifying important in a 2-hour 45-minute quote-unquote endurance race? Oh, you bet.
Yeah, especially when you're in a field of 19 cars in your class. Yep. You do not want to be starting 19th. You don't even want to be starting 10th. So as far as Bill Swadler and Townsend Bell are concerned, the closer to the front, the better. And if you're all the way at the front, you really just can't beat that. But this guy on the screen right now, Jerome Bleekemolen, he is a spoiler. Jerome is one of the quickest guys in any paddock anywhere. Yep. And that especially goes for this weekend in that number 33, ViperExchange.com.
Without a doubt, we were talking about it yesterday. There are drivers that are just exceptional. There are drivers that are all world, and then there's a few that are other world. That's Bleekemolen. Onto the front straight, there's the number 45. That's the Flying Lizard Audi, Spencer Pumpelly. Always a guy who just seems to find it when it comes time to go qualifying. He's pretty spectacular as well. Bleekemolen quickest right now, but we're a chunk off of where we think they might be here. Damian Faulkner, as I say, Bleekemolen, Faulkner in the number 81 GB Autosport car goes to the top of the charts. A 209.0 for the reference point for you.
And Damian is somebody to watch. He got
yeah.
pole here last year and then followed it up with the win. That was back in the GTC class of the American Le Mans Series. Damian was then driving a Porsche, now driving a Porsche. I'd say he's pretty familiar with the track.
Yeah, absolutely. And just watching the Aston Martin there that, of course, comes off of that tremendous comeback win, if you will, at VIR after the big accident after getting pole at Road America. Watching James Davison just working the brakes, hammering it, accelerating, hammering the brakes, just trying to make sure everything's up to temp. Remember, when you come down that back straight here from 11 to 12, that braking zone is mega. You got to be on it. Speaking of mega, Mike Skeen in the number 71 Park Place Motorsports machine has just gone to the top of the charts. I've said it for years. He's America's best kept secret, and that's a shame. He shouldn't be kept secret. The guy is a superb driver. And to see him go to the top at a 2:08.9, Shay, that is a very impressive lap.
That is, we saw 2:10s in this morning session. That's 2 seconds off of what we saw earlier. But the guy that the camera's on right now, Mario Farnbacher, keep an eye on him because he's put together a very clean lap, and his team car moved out of the way, which meant that it sacrificed its fast lap for what Mario was doing. Mario would be on a real flyer right now, and this kid is good.
Yeah, he sure is. And of course, you know, he's got it predicted. The team knows exactly what you know, he's doing for a lap, and we're going to get an answer as he's into the final turn, turn 20, onto the front straight and down by the timing beam, and then of course that big 130-foot plus climb up. But let's see where he is. Currently 6th at a 2:09.5, and not quite as quick. Not quite as quick, but a bit of a change is Bleekemolen to the top of the number 33 Viper Exchange, Port Lavaca Auto Group at a 2:08.826, displacing Mike Skeen by 0.15 of a second. And Cameron comes through into second now. Cameron at a 2:08.826, identical to the thousands. Bleekemolen gets it because he turned it first. That's how intense the competition is here.
Identical.
Wow.
And they're not in the same car. One is a Viper and one is a BMW.
Yeah.
Wow. That is insane.
That is. Skeen still sitting in third. Kuba Gamaziak now in the number 30 Momo NGT Porsche jumps up into the 4th spot at a 2:09.007. And then Damian Faulkner has already back into the 5th spot, followed by Andy Lally in the Magnus number 44, Andrew Davis in the Dempsey number 27. Norbert Seidler doing the qualifying in the Team Park Place number 73. Farnbacher slips to 9th now, and Dion von Molke in the 10th spot in the 35 PR Newswire Flying Lizard Audi. But boy, I'll tell you, what a lap by Bleekemolen, but what a response by Dane Cameron.
Absolutely. Now Dion is somebody else to watch. He put the fastest lap in the American Le Mans Series race last year for the GTC cars. So they've been having a little bit of trouble this weekend with the Audi, with finding their balance and finding their footing. But if there is a driver who can do that, watch out for Dion von Moltke.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you see a shot now of the Turner car, you'll see it's got the number 300 on it. It's not like Tommy Drecey's part of the team, and they got a movie sponsorship for the sequel. They're at their 300th race, so they're running a special number here. Speaking of special numbers, watching for Bleekemolen, did he improve? He did, by just 1/100th of a second. He goes to the top at a 2:08.814. Officially, it shows as 12/1000ths of a second now. He's split from Dane Cameron. There is that BMW. Let's see whether Dane able to respond. He did it a lap ago. No reason he can't do it again. This guy is superb.
As he comes through the last complex of corners, Dane makes the turn onto the front straight. He will be going over the timing line any second now. There he goes, blasting past our window. There's an update.
2:08.826 his best.
No.
It was actually, that was an off lap. I think he was cooling the tires maybe to make one more run at it here. And you know what will happen, we've been talking about is they've got that predictive. You can look at it and go, yeah, this isn't the lap here, so I'm going to ease back on it. But Mike Skeen now goes a 2:08.984 and jumps right back into third, the number 71 Park Place Motorsports entry, only 0.17 off of Bleekemolen's pole time. Wow, what a a story for Mike Skeen.
Guys, just want to look out for one thing that I've noticed, and we mentioned it earlier, but because we've had so much wet weather, watch for the runoff, especially where the asphalt is, because there's a lot of water that stayed on that side, in the AstroTurf effectively. And if you look at turn 19, if they just get a couple of wheels off, get the power down too early, it's so easy to get it wrong. And in these last few minutes, when you're really pushing, and you're just pushing a little bit over the limit, you might just see some guys making mistakes. Just watch out for that at a couple of places and a couple of corners where they're really stretching.
James Davison to the top of the charts. We were talking about how he wasn't quickest in that last practice. Well, he puts in 2:08.502.
Wow.
So that's 3/10 quicker.
Yeah, with the margins we've been talking about, to throw one down 3/10 quicker. Now here comes Bleekemolen. See what he's able to do as he comes by. He's got to find something here. The man's certainly capable of it. That wasn't it on this lap, however. And, you know, yeah, it's a good point, because this guy, James Davison, in that previous session was 13th. And we were going, what's going on here? But again, they're on different agendas every once in a while. And clearly they knew what they were doing. As he's out there, you see that B positive foundation on the back of the car. And was that number 23 of Farnbacher?
It was. We have 3 interesting cars in the pits, though. Andy Lally, Mario Farnbacher, and Townsend Bell. And not one of them is where they would hope to be in qualifying. Andy Lally currently 7th, Farnbacher is down in 11th, and Bell down in 14th. We were talking about how important this championship is. Townsend does not want to be starting from 14th position. And he's been in the pits for a while, too.
Yeah. Well, and Lee Keane, who shares the car with Cooper McNeil, they too are tied for the championship lead, currently 15th right now. Yeah, we had seen, we had talked about it in the first practice session yesterday. I think you said 7 of the top 10 were the Porsches. They were kind of optimistic. You see the very front of the car, if you get a little shot, there's a couple of dive planes that have sprouted. A little bit of an extra help to plant the nose that these cars needed. They were very optimistic about that. But the only guy right now, is Mike Skeen right in the mix. Then Kuba and Damian Faulkner. But what you would have thought, Lee Keane and the Townsend Bell in that Ferrari certainly would have been right in the mix. But neither, Alessandro Balzan, who's an awfully good driver in the Scuderia Corsa, number 63, mired outside of that top 15 as well.
Some names a little bit further down that we're used to seeing. Spencer Capelli only in 9th. He's a guy who got several poles in the American Le Mans Series. And Jan Halen even, he's been qualifying well all year, down at 18th.
Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise, to be sure.
And at 2:13 for him, that's 5 seconds off the pace.
That's just, yeah, something's not quite right there. Davison brings the 007 Aston Martin in. Usually at this, as there's less than a minute, or there's less than 2 minutes to go, he's done. He's said that's the lap. The question is whether this guy, currently second, Jerome Bleekemolen, in the Viper Exchange Port Lavaca Auto Group Viper GT3R, has an answer. He needs to find 3/10 and a little tick to be able to displace James Davison, and he's got one more lap to get it done if he didn't do it on this lap.
Yeah, he did a 2:25 that lap, so he was cooling his tires, preparing for another run at this pole position. And Jerome Bleekemolen is very accustomed to starting from front.
Well, we've seen him do this before, where on that absolute last lap, the guy just finds pace, and we'll see whether he's got an answer. 3/10 in this category is a big chunk, though. It's one thing to find a 10th or 2, but a full 3+ tenths. But if anybody can do it, this is the man. And Dane Cameron out there as well, still just within that 3/10 window as well.
Yeah, James is definitely not celebrating a pole position yet. He's smart enough to know that those 2 guys out there right behind you, those are hungry sharks. So you better start swimming a little bit quicker.
He's had an interesting year. He had a chance to do the Indy 500, really enjoyed, and actually, equipped himself pretty good. He's hoping to do it again. I spoke to him earlier in the weekend, and certainly something that any young driver wants to aspire to, and that young Aussie definitely does.
Absolutely. Boy, we just had a shot, by the way, of Dane Cameron in that blue and yellow 300 BMW in the S's, laying down a couple of black stripes. He is throwing this car after it. Bleekemolen is up in front of him a little bit, and so we'll see what unfolds here. Here's Dane as the checker flag is out on GT Daytona qualifying. And Again, once everybody clears, you'll get that 5-minute break window to start. Then we'll get right back after it. And for Bleekemolen, he certainly looks as he comes through 16, now 17, now 18, carrying that car beautifully. Certainly looks to think that he's got a lap that he might possibly be able to do something with here, because he's not backing off and pushing it very hard. Here he goes, last time into turn 20, onto the brakes, feeds it to the apex, feeds it throttle at big V10, launching that car out of that corner, down to the stripe. What can he do? Needs to better at 2:08.5. Does he do it? No, misses it. Ends up with a 2:09 flat. So Dane Cameron right here in that number 300, and it looks as though we'll see whether Dane is really on a lap here. Looks like he is. He's pushing it. We'll see whether he's got an answer at this point, and feeds it out, exiting 18. The setup for 19, turns in. Boy, pretty aggressive on the curb. Nope. He says not going to beat it, not going to trash the tires. He's done. So there's Kevin Buckler, who is wanting to celebrate badly and trying to, go, well, let's just wait, and we'll see how everything settles out. There it is. There's the congratulations, Kevin Buckler, to James Davison in that black helmet. Absolutely fantastic. What a run. Yep. Boy, awesome, awesome stuff. And I'll tell you what, let's give one more shout out to Mike Skeen in that number 71 Park Place machine to come in here and run a lap within 4/10 of James Davison's pole time and be the fastest of the Porsche contingent, Shay. That's a brilliant piece of driving by Mike Skeen.
That is, and he narrowly lost out in the Pirelli World Challenge Championship last weekend. He is hungry for a win after that. So Mike Skeen, first time in a Porsche. He's proven that he belongs, fastest of the Porsches, but in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th tomorrow for the GTD class. Those are all Porsches, so you can bet your bottom dollar that they will be challenging that Aston Martin, that Viper, and that BMW who sit ahead of them.
Well, the interesting thing, I'm sorry, but you mentioned, just a little bit ago, Jan Halen was at the back of the pack. He rebounded with a lap that put him up into the top 10 and 8.
I was just going to mention it. First person to congratulate Kevin Buckler, of course, David Richards, and obviously his team are here for WEC. But TRG, just as impressive here in the American Championship. And there are the factory guys.
Yep, John Goff, yeah, great. Absolutely fantastic. I think the biggest surprise in this session, though, has got to be Lee Keen in 16th. Points, co-points leader in this championship. Something not right with that car running only a 2:10 lap. That's just
that's what I like to see.
Surprise.
Somebody filling his own car. Oh, no, he's
right.
Just taking a photo.
Just taking a photo, but it looks good. That's the Total Pole Award, very prestigious award here in the TUDOR United Sports Car Championship, and awfully happy with that. And look at that. And he should be.
He's telling us how many he's got.
Yep, 3 poles.
Pole position.
3 poles, 3 times he's been number 1.
No wins for him yet this season, but that could all change tomorrow.
Boy, it could, and he's fast.
He is very fast. His best finish so far at Detroit, he finished 4th, but he badly wants that win. As you can tell, he's happy to get pole, but he would be a lot happier if it's first place tomorrow.
Without a doubt, and boy, he's dropped the gauntlet. 3/10 clear of an incredibly close field. That says an awful lot about what he and what that team have been able to put together. So the GT Daytona group is done, and we're getting the word now from race control. 1 minute to the start of GT Le Mans qualifying. Similar types of cars, GT cars. However, these cars are full-on factory efforts for most of the teams. It is a manufacturer's playground, and it is really trick technology. Lots of downforce, lots of aero on these cars. The performance of these machines. Look at this, the back of this BMW. You can see how aggressive the aero is on these cars. This is special stuff, Shay.
Oh, it really is. This is what gets me really excited about this. When you've got these GTLM cars going out, because they are here to win. You've got factory BMW effort, factory Corvette, factory SRT, a pretty much factory Ferrari when you look at Risi, because they are getting the help. Not necessarily all the help that they deserve, but they have been getting enough help. They won the last 2 races. And then factory Porsche, who decided to bring an extra car for the weekend, because why not? And they have been doing their job so far. Of the 3 sessions we've had, we've had Porsche 1-2-3, 1-2-3, and 1-2-4.
Yeah, it's been impressive what they've been able to do, and they brought that third car, the Manufacturers Championship. Porsche leads, and that's a huge thing. The drivers want the driver's title, but the real emphasis for these teams is on manufacturers. Porsche leads that championship by 2. So 2 points. So they brought in this third car and a couple of awfully talented drivers, in Patrick Fillet and Frederick Machiavecchi. That those guys are obviously there to take points away from anybody else, help protect, you know. And if they win, fine. That's what they want to do here, is just earn points. But as you said, there's the number 3 Corvette coming in here as the points leader in the Drivers' Championship. Winners here last year, champions in the series last year. They did a bit of a dry patch in terms of performance. They reeled off 4 straight wins earlier in the season, and then you know, they got a little AOP adjustment of performance, and while other cars, you know, picked it up a little bit. But these guys, as you said, they're ready to go after it too. But right now, I mean, everything we've seen so far, we'll see how it plays out qualifying. Porsche seems to have the legs right.
What's interesting about this category is no one really shows their hand in practice. Porsche coming out, getting the top 3 in 2 of the 3 sessions. That is fantastic. But we don't know what Corvette has up their sleeve. We don't know what Viper is hiding, like what cards they're holding close to their chest. We don't know what the Team Falcon Porsche even can do. They're another one to keep your eyes on, especially given the weather conditions. That's less than ideal here today, but Falcon Tire tends to do well when the weather is exactly as it is right now.
Well, you mentioned the weather, so we go to Jonathan Green.
Well, mostly cloudy with a little bit of puffiness in the Q line nearby.
And yeah, shrouded darkness followed the morning by widely scattered light.
Absolutely.
All right, gotcha. One thing I did want to talk about, this is the class of the 4 in the TUDOR United Sports Car Championship, Jonathan, that doesn't have a spec tire. This is an open tire class. You see that beautiful Falcon tire, that blue and teal car, taking on the might of Michelin tired cars out here as well. It's a manufacturer's playground for more than just cars.
And I have to say, and this is true of 2-wheel and 4-wheel, I prefer it when there is. I mean, yeah, control tires are great. You get that parity across the, but I do like to see the manufacturers, you know, really develop tires over a season and compete with each other and bring something new each weekend. And it adds a little bit of mystery each time, because you're like, have they done something?
Yeah.
Have they got something? How will this work against this humidity, or how will this track work with this level of grip with the different manufacturers? And I like that side of it.
I think you're right. I think it does bring, I love that, a bit of mystery into things. You know, what the concern with that, and the reason that, you know, people say, well, we like control tires, is if one manufacturer really comes up with a magic brew and is suddenly 2 seconds quicker than the rest of the field, you know, that is a little bit disheartening. But that's not what we've seen. And you got to give amazing props to the folks from Falcon Tire Company for this factory-supported program from Falcon Tire, with one of the factory Porsche drivers in Wolf Hesler, with their own factory driver in Brian Sellers, that have just stayed after it. And they said, we want Michelin, we want to go against them because they've set the bar, and we want to bring ourselves up to it and maybe surpass it.
Well, and we've been talking all day about the importance of the people on the pit box. Yeah. And when you look at Team Falcon Tire, you've got Derek Walker sitting up there. He is one of the best in the business. He has been around long enough. He knows how to play this game. And he has managed to take a team, which some say shouldn't have had a win, to victory circle several times in the American Lawn Series. 4 or 5 wins over the last 3 years. That's impressive.
It is. And anybody who watched the Petit Le Mans last year and watched that win by that team, that last, 2-hour stint by Nick Tandy, the pressure that he was under, I mean, it was amazing. And I mean, after having that chassis written off, and it was a cobbled together 2010 chassis with, it was just an absolutely amazing story. And you know, that's what makes this so special. All right, we should start to see some times coming in. They've got the tires up to temp, the pressures are right. Now it is showtime to drop the hammer. Jan Magnussen in the number 3 Corvette. First one through, goes to the top. Gavin follows him through, and he is even a bit quicker. Nick Tandy first into the 204s at a 204.035. Pat Long right behind him in the team number 912 at a 204.8. But Tandy at the top, a 204 flat in the number 911 Porsche. And let's see where Mark Goossens sets the best time thus far by one of the Dodge Viper SRTs. Wolf Hensler jumps up to third in that Falcon tire, number 17, at a 2:05.6. Pushes Gavin back. John Edwards, who just got done with a brilliant win with his co-driver in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge in his BMW. Now jumps to fifth, fastest of the BMW Rahal Letterman Lanigan Z4 GTEs in the fifth spot.
Looking at Nick Tandy's time, a 2:04.035, best time we've seen today from a GT Le Mans car. So those Porsches were holding something in close to the chest, even though they were top of the charts in every session.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. You got to believe there's more. Oh, look at Jonathan Bomarito now jumps up to fourth in the number 93 Dodge Viper SRT at a 2:05.88. But there's more to come. Certainly, Pierre Caffer in the 62 Risica Benezioni Ferrari sits in the seventh spot right now, and they show Andy Prio in this. Well, there's a little glitch with the scoring. Andy Prio next up in the 55 BMW. Then Mags slips back to eighth, just that quick. But again, much more to come. Watching Magnussen right now do that wonderful triple apex, 16, 17, 18, right to the edge of the road, transition back to the right, into that blind approach to the apex until you actually commit to the turn. Tricky corner, 19, and then a key last turn here is the corner that gives you the drive onto the front straight. Watch for the times, a 2:04 flat Tandy's time. What does Jan Magnussen do? Does he better it? Cross the line, not quite. Jumps though up into third, well, momentarily at a 2:05.4. Then Ollie Gavin in the number 4 Corvette goes to 2:05.3, moves into third spot. John Edwards, a 2:04.635, now goes to the third spot. But look at the times now. Tandy has got a 2:03.6, and Pat Long a 2:03.9. They're the only guys sub 2:04 right now. Then Edwards, Prio jumps up into fourth, so the two BMWs starting to show their hand here. Hensler back to fifth.
And still fifth position for a team with no teammate is very, very impressive indeed. As we get Patrick Pileg, who likes being top of the charts. He comes back up to second with a 2:03.8. He wants that first position, though.
Well, that would be the right numerical order, but Tandy wants it right in terms of team seniority. Let's look at it that way, maybe, huh? The 911 of Tandy on top of the 910 of Pilet and the 912 of Pat Long. Bomarito, well, I'll tell you, that guy is magic around this place. And that 93 Dodge Viper SRT Motorsports machine at a 2:04.1, so close to that sub 2:04 marker. Then the two BMWs, then Hensler, another solid lap, jumping up into the seventh spot. You're looking at a 2:03.6, folks, and you go down to Jan Magnussen at a 2:05.4 in the 11th spot. So not a lot of time. That shuffles down a lot of positions.
And it is utterly shocking to see Jan Magnussen in the 11th position out of 11 cars. Jan, who is the first one to circulate around this track, he's coming back toward the timing and scoring line. He should be here within a handful of seconds, about 30. We'll have an updated time for him. But he is not someone who's going to be happy with an 11th position.
No, he's not.
Not even. And here he comes. So we'll see, what does he do on this lap. Get it, that 2:05.402 jumps up to 8th at a 2:05.279, but still a large chunk off of the times of those Porsches up front.
And Ollie Gavin, who's circulating close behind him, actually, the two Corvettes running in tandem. He is now in 9th, so Jan managed to get ahead of his teammate, but still 8th and 9th for Corvette racing. That just doesn't sound right.
The winners here last year, yeah, I mean, and the class champions. So it's been one of those rather interesting years in a lot of ways. 4 wins early, and then and the number 4 car just never been able to uncork all that potential. And look at Patrick Pilet goes to the top at a 2-minute 3.478. So the Porsches now are 1, 2, 3, the 910, the 911, and the 912.
And look at Nick Tandy's last lap. He did a 2:10, so he backed off. He's looking for another fast lap as we see Mark Goossens gets up into the 6th position.
And Bomarito about to come across the stripe at 2:04.142 and a 2:03.7 by J-Bomb up into 3rd, splits one of those Porsches back into 4th, the 93 Viper. And Bomarito, the guy is mega, folks. And we've been talking about great talents. We got to keep, you know, he's just such a nice, mellow, calm guy. Very very California cool outside of the car, but he is something special behind the wheel. As you are now, speaking of special, looking at the young Frenchman, Patrick Pillet, who currently is quickest at a 2:03.478.
This is a good session. I hadn't realized just how little time they've got. When you think about it, when you look at the lap times, you know, they're averaging between, you know, 2:06 and 2:03 roughly, and you know, they've got not a lot of time to get those laps in. So if they mess up a lap, if they get into traffic, they get just one corner wrong, you know, that's that one, and they got another 4 minutes to think about it.
That's right. You know, you're running laps at just a tick over 2 minutes, so that 15, you know, you can easy math to do. There's not a lot of laps there, especially when you do warm-ups as well.
If it goes well, you got 4 fast laps.
Boy, Magnussen improved his time by almost 4/10 of a second and did move up a spot. But at least now, you know, he's with, well, he's still a little more than a second outside of the, ooh, look at this. John Edwards now in the 56 BMW comes through in a 2:03.881 and moves himself up into the 4th spot. So it's Pillet, Tandy in the Porsches, Bomarito in the Viper, Edwards in the BMW, Long in the Porsche, your top 5. With Goossens in the Viper, Prio in the other BMW, Hensler in the Falcon Tires Porsche, Magnussen and Gavin complete the top 10. And the number 62 of Pierre Caffer, which is the car that's been the car that has kind of dominated the last few rounds here outside of the top 10.
That is a genuine surprise to see the 62 Risi Competizione car so far down the charts. When we saw Magnussen sitting down there in 11th, that was surprising. Now we're seeing Risi. These are not names that we were used to seeing further down the charts. Now, qualifying is not everything for a 2.5-hour race, especially when you have an 11-car field, but still you do not want to say that you started dead last in your class.
Well, and you look at it, yeah, 2:05.3 for Caffer. That's 2 seconds off of Pillet's best time. In this class, that is a calendar year. It's immense. So they've certainly got to be a bit concerned right now. Bomarito to second at a 2-minute 3.539, splitting Pillet from the, he's the top, but Tandy now third with Bomarito. He is absolutely on form here this weekend.
He came so close to getting the win last year in the American Le Mans Series. He wants it bad this year. And where better to go for the win than to start from pole? Jonathan Bomarito is doing everything he can to get his car as close to the front of the field as he can. And second is not a bad place for him.
No, not at all. And I mean, the chase he gave Garcia, and again, had they not thrown the white and waited one more lap, Bomarito might have just won that thing. I mean, it was that close. Riding on board now with Nick Tandy, who's been shuffled back to third, and see, does he have a response to move up another spot, reclaim that front row? No, he turns a 2:05.7, a little bit off his best lap. So we'll see what unfolds there. It is still Pillet, Bomarito, Tandy, Long, and oh, but look at Goossens now moves up and displaces Edwards out of the top 5.
And Oliver Gavin and Pierre Caffer have called it a session. They have both come into the pits, so they will not be improving upon their times, which means that Oliver Gavin starting 10th, Pierre Caffer starting 11th.
Wow, that is that's huge.
And Andy Prio comes in as well. He will be starting 7th.
Oh boy, Mags he literally missed the apex there at 11 and ran well wide. Gives you an idea of just how hard he's pushing. That'll frustrate him no end here.
Patrick Pillet is confident with his time of a 2:03.302, though. He is pitted, he's called it a day, and he is ready to get this thing over with. He wants that pole position, so if the timer could just hurry up for him, that would be great.
Well, this is going to be interesting because Bomarito's last lap was a 2:08, so he definitely was, you know, cooling the tires. He is on it. He has absolutely no traffic. He's got to find about 2/10 of a second, a little bit more than 2/10 of a second. And we are on board with Jonathan right now through the first section of S's into the second section. Tricky little bit this. I love this section right here. You come out, it's really quick. There's this kink right there, and then it's just drive it up into turn 11 and watch. This is huge. Getting this exit is going to be massive, and let that V10 sing. Oh man, absolutely beautiful line. And the checker flag 10 seconds from coming out. So this is it. If there's one bobble on this lap, it's over. And Pillet unless a Tandy or a Long or a Goosens. I mean, there are a couple that are still out there. They're going to be going after it. All right, here we go. Into 12, hard in the brakes. There's the team looking. Young Mr. Pilet, anxious to be sure. And you can see these guys are fit. A lot of times they get out of these cars and they don't even look like their hair needs to be combed. He is soaked after a 15-minute session. That we're talking about the heat and humidity that these guys are dealing with here. This is tricky corner right here. Turn 15. Nice, feed it. All right, now into this triple apex 16. It'll float back to 17, float out a little more. There's 18. Long duration here. Now back over to the right, set up for this turn 19, clips it beautifully on it. Does he stay out?
No.
No. So he realized I don't have it, and he ducks into the pits. So unless somebody else is out there and the team watching it, not going to happen. Patrick Pilet has done what he set out to do here. Put this car on pole, and what a lap, a 2-minute 3.302 second lap, Shay.
Patrick Long, Mark Goosens, and John Edwards still shown out on the track, but I don't think any of them are on a hot lap because Patrick is celebrating as if this pole is his, and he certainly deserves it. Of the 3 sessions that we had earlier between today and yesterday,
yep,
it was his name that was top of the charts in all 3.
Yeah, I mean, he's been absolutely impressive. His co-driver for this weekend, Frederick Makavecki, also just a superb talent. So in all 3 of these Porsches, the lineup is amazing. And that guy right there in that black shirt, that's John Bennett, who runs the Core Autosport team. That is the partner with Porsche Motorsport North America in this factory operation. Great stuff indeed, boy. Big celebrations going on.
And important to point out, this is the 910 that got the pole. This is not the car that runs the TUDOR United Sports Car Championship with regularity. This is the car that Porsche brought in to get extra points for that ever valuable championship, and they have done exactly that with getting pole.
Yep, it's exactly how they wanted this to play out. When I was talking to Pat Long earlier, you know, ask him about just the logistics team, the stress on the team of running a 3rd car, and he said 2 cars is a, you know, I mean, you're throwing a lot of energy, 30 people working on these teams. He said to bring in a 3rd car is mega. Then to bring in a 3rd car and have it go this well and bring home the Total Pole Award is pretty spectacular stuff. Boy, talk about a tribute to Core Autosport, Porsche Motorsport North America.
It makes it all worth it when you can come home at the end of the day and said, at least in another session that's 4 now that we've had, this car has been top of the charts.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And by the way, folks, those of you who are not real familiar with it, you can see that graphics package on these cars. Those are letters. And if you draw that out to its a conclusion, it's Porsche Intelligent Performance. That is their go-to slogan for the season. But how about Jonathan Bomarito? Oh, God, how exciting for him. This young guy racing in Circuit of the Americas, as American as it gets. The great story for him, too.
And Jonathan, knowing him, he's not going to be happy with P2. He's going to be upset that he was 2 tenths off, and he's going to go, all right, where could I have gone a little bit faster around that lap? Where did I maybe mess it up? And he's already thinking in terms of the race tomorrow, where he'll be able to pass that 910 ahead of him.
Yeah. And he's just he's so laid back, you know, he's fierce on the inside, but on the outside he's like, yeah, it was a good run, man. The car was working. It's cool. We're going to be good. So, I mean, he's just a joy. Nick Tandy in 3rd. Patrick Long, the only American Porsche factory driver. Nice job bringing that car home in 4th. Goosens and Edwards will fill out positions 5 and 6. Prio and Magnussen, Hensler and Gavin, and then Pierre Kaffer and the Ferrari that has been the car here in the last few rounds, somehow back in 11th.
Something tells me they won't stay there for long, though.
Yeah, I think they're going to be going after it. And you can see the shots on our big screens here at the track and on our global web feed at IMSA.com. That is Jack Hawksworth strapping into the RSR Racing prototype challenge machine for his attack on a pole position, which will be coming up in just a couple of minutes. Again, we get a little bit longer of a break here. They get out, do a track inspection, make sure everything's in good shape, and then they unleash the prototypes. First the PC cars for their 15-minute session, another short break, and then out will come the prototypes.
Yeah, and Jack Hawksworth, an impressive young man who's been running an IndyCar this year. He has 2 starts in this series, though. His worst finish is 4th. He won the Indianapolis Grand Prix back in July and then finished 4th in Road America. He had to miss VIR for an injury.
Yeah.
But This young man, he is eager to get back behind the wheel of this car, and he is very excited to be at this track this weekend.
Yeah, he has been something, hasn't he? It's been an absolutely great story since he stepped in, and filling the seat that Alex Tagliani had been running earlier. And one of the reasons they brought him in for that Indy race was he'd driven the new layout there. And then when he did what he did at Indy, they went, maybe we need to keep him around for just a little bit here.
Yeah. What's your calendar look like the rest of the year, Jack?
Yeah, can we talk?
Yeah.
So it's been pretty good, and and so far we have seen in every class that's been out and run times way better than where they practice, which was absolutely no surprise. It's great to see it play out like that, isn't it?
Yeah, and in the last session we had 2 seconds a lap faster than we had seen all weekend in the PC category. They were down at 2:01, so previously they'd been down about 2:02, I think was the quickest we saw, but mostly everybody was running in 2:03s. Do you think they'll get in the 2-minute mark?
Well, I think there's the potential for it here. I mean, at this point now, you've had that hour session. You've had 2 other sessions go out, a little bit more rubber down on the track. The track drier than it has been. I think certainly the potential is there for them to get awfully tantalizingly close, if not dip beneath it. And just a little comparative chat here. The closest thing to the GTD class would have been probably the GT Challenge category for the ALMS. The track record, which was set in the race last year, was a time of 2 minutes 13.499, and Davidson's pole a 2:08.5.
Wow.
Big, huge jump. Rolex GT at 2:08.8 for them. So that gives you, they're right on pace with a track record from that category. The GT Le Mans machines, the closest thing would have, of course, been the GT class in the American Le Mans Series. The track record there, a 2:05.0. How about a 2:03.3? Blow it out of the water. And now we're getting ready for the prototype challenge cars coming out. Track record set by Dane Cameron at a 1:59.7. Wow. So that would, I guess, be sort of the reference mark here.
And Dane, who we saw a couple sessions ago in the GTD category, he tried very hard to get that pole. I bet he'd be eager to get back in a PC car and maintain his record.
Have a go at it.
Yeah. We've got some drivers in this category, particularly Mr. Colin Brown, who is very, very accustomed to being on pole. He is a very good driver when it comes to qualifying sessions and frequently pulls times out of thin air.
Yep. Yep, he has. I mean, and we've seen that the battles that he's had with, obviously Bruno Junqueira and Colin Brown's pole battles have been mega at times. But there's other players now. We've seen some amazing laps. Certainly, Hawksworth is going to be somebody more than capable of going after it. You take a look. Luis Diaz and Sean Rahal have shown some great speed. And let's not forget a guy named Martin Plowman, who is here this weekend, who is awfully quick in these machines.
And Ranger Van de Zande, you can never count him out.
No, ever.
And then you've got the combination of Gunnar Jeanette and Frankie Montecalvo. I mean, picking a pole sitter out of this group, you throw names in a hat and pick one out.
Exactly.
Honestly, it's too close to call.
It's going to be fun.
And then that guy getting strapped in there red on the screen, Mr. Johnny Mollem.
Yeah. Good to have him back running in North America, and he's done some great stuff. I remember when he got into the Mike Lewis's car at Road America a couple of years ago and led for the race, got out front of all of the other mega competition cars out there and led. Yeah, that car had been given a pretty good boost opportunity to make it competitive, but Johnny just drove the wheels off it. Some spectacular stuff. 1 minute now, the official call from race control to get this qualifying session underway, and those cars, the 87 and the 88, run by Brian Alder's team, Bar One Motorsports, and doing a nice job. Mollem team with Tom Papadopoulos, Plowman with Mark Dumbright. So that is indeed a great lineup of machines. So they will be going out here for their 15-minute session in just a couple of minutes, less than that now, just a couple of seconds, really.
And all these drivers are going, okay, let's just get this going. They want their 15 minutes. It cannot come soon enough for them. And another driver we forgot to mention, John Martin. Well, he knows his way around this track.
Exactly.
He won last year in the P2 category of the World Endurance Championship. So you've got several guys behind the wheel at this point who are more than capable of putting their car at the front of the field.
Yeah, I mean, we would have been way better off listing guys that don't have a shot at pole because it'd be easy. None of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody going out here is that good. Green flag. The track is open. Prototype challenge qualifying. 15-minute session here for the Tudor United Sports Car Championship. All part of the Lone Star Le Mans at Circuit of the Americas here in Austin, Texas. And boy, what a show this is. We've seen some great sessions from our 2 GT classes. Now it's all full-on prototypes.
Gunnar Jeanette behind the wheel of the 52. Gunnar is very familiar with the PC class. He was the champion in 2011. He knows how to wheel these cars. Very happy to be back behind the wheel full-time this year. Gunnar eager to get a pole.
Some of the early development he was instrumental on in these cars when they replumbed them to put those LS3 Chevy V8s in the back of the cars. He did a lot of that initial work. You know, people tend to forget that. You look at these cars and you think, okay, so they're a subclass. Yes, they are, but they are, you know, these chassis were at the time an absolutely top line LMP2 category chassis. They make really good downforce. They're very agile, and you put those V8s in the back, those LS3 V8s, they're torquey, and they're quirky because they don't have traction control. So, you know, all of that throttle control that you get from these cars is that driver's right foot. And, you know, you think about when we watch them race on the tight street circuits like Long Beach and stuff, we have had these guys fighting for overall leads legitimately up against some of the prototypes because they are so good with that torque coming off of those tight corners. These are serious race cars, folks. It may be a subcategory, but it is one of the fastest subcategories on the planet.
It is, and we have heard from drivers in the past, haven't we, Greg, who have said these are some of the trickiest cars to drive because they take that finesse. If you want to go fast, you have to be smooth. So yes, we have gentleman drivers in this category, but you also have some of the best professionals you can find.
Yeah, I mean, they get up on the wheel and it's a thing of beauty, that's for sure. There goes, I think that's Sean Rahal. Or is that Luis? Nope, that's Sean. That first guy to come by here and down the front straight. Now that was, I think, just the outlap, so it's going to be one more before we're going to see some serious speed from these guys. But it sure is an indication here that we're, oh no, that's the number 38 Performance Tech Dash Neighborhoods Phillips 66 car. That's coming out of that very tricky turn 19 and got up on that curb and it just speared right across and into the barriers.
I guarantee you, we'll probably see it in a moment, but I bet you he got onto the AstroTurf and just got the power down too early. Or probably normally, but didn't realize that he was on, you know, just a little bit further to the right than he perhaps wanted to be, and whoop.
That's David Estella behind the wheel too. And now we have a red flag, but that doesn't mean that this session is completely over. What it means is this is taking away from the qualifying session, but the drivers are guaranteed 10 minutes of green flag time. So when the session does go green, they will have 10 minutes added on to whatever time is left when they start. This pushes back the prototype qualifying by a little bit, but not a terrible amount.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I think I think that, you know, that AstroTurf over there, with all the rain we've had, that's still damp and slippery, and if you get off on it, you know, you really need to just open the wheel up, use the runoff. And here's we're just catching the back end of it, Jonathan.
Yeah, but I think it's what I thought, because you can see by the position he's in, he's come out of 19 and spun it round, and the power's gone down, and he's turned it round and it headed backwards into the barriers.
And David's not an unaccomplished driver. He won the 2013 GT3 Cup Challenge Canada, which is the Porsche Cup that races at this track as well, with one of the support races. And he also won Sebring in a PC car in 2013. So he's familiar with the cars as well, but it does look like he just happened to drop a wheel off on the AstroTurf and lost it into the barrier.
Well, and he's been kind of an interesting story watching his progress in qualifying in the recent rounds. He freely admits, he said, I'm not the kind of guy that I don't go out and on that second, third lap, I'm just there. He said, I need a few more laps. But so he's been one of the few guys who's actually made some big leaps, jumping up into the top 4 against some pretty august company late in qualifying sessions with some good time. Maybe trying to find that speed a little bit sooner in this one, and it just caught him out a little bit. So it'll be just a matter of how quick they can get that car on the hook and get that car moved before we go back to qualifying in the Prototype Challenge category.
That'll make a long night for the Performance Tech guys.
Yeah, it surely will. And you know, a couple of races back, he teamed up with a guy that I'm pretty familiar with, watching him race at Road America in Wisconsin a lot. Another young guy named James French. You see the French on that car, and you know, this is one of those categories where you've truly got a couple of young guns in there. They don't have that absolutely, you know, top of the light platinum level pro in this car, and yet they've still been doing a really nice job.
They have been, and this team was the one that Tristan Nunez ran with last year. And Tristan, you'll see now, he drives for Mazda. They picked him up.
Yep.
But
in a full prototype.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
But Performance Tech, they run a lot of lights cars as well. They're a very well set team. They're good people too. So for this to happen to them, they're not one of the more budgeted teams, if you will. This will set them back. This hurts, and I know Ostella's probably disappointed in himself.
Oh, sure, he's gutted right now.
This.
Yeah, the interesting thing too, and you know, obviously, Jonathan, you could talk to this with all of your experience here. This is a track that's got a lot of runoff area, and he just happened to get it wrong in one of the few areas.
Yeah,
where
it's about to say it's one of the few
runoff.
places there isn't any runoff. Yeah, and I mean, it's one of the things that's there has been, and there's very little criticism about this track, is that some drivers say that, you know, it's not the classic, it's not a Watkins Glen, it's not, you know, it's not got that risk factor. And when I say risk factor, both in terms of how much, you know, if you get it wrong, you're going to end up, as he did, in a barrier, because of that runoff at the S's, and, you know, it forces guys that maybe not as good to take risks that they shouldn't, and then there's no disadvantage because you just go wide and you get back on. Well, that's true, but not here.
Yeah, exactly.
Not at this corner.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, that's where the pit lane starts, so the barriers are in a little bit closer, and just the wrong spot to get it a bit wrong. And there's a look at one of the greats, man, Bruno Junqueira, on board that linospresso.com entry from RSR. And Basecamp, also a good supporter of that car, just waiting patiently. He's been in this game before. This isn't going to fluster him one bit.
No, and Bruno's another guy who's used to sitting on pole position. He got very many over the last couple of years in ALMS. He was used to starting at the front, and he's got 3 podiums on the year so far. So
he had one of the greatest pole runs I've ever seen in sports cars. It was 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, Baltimore, and they had that tire chicane that they had to put up because that approach over the railroad tracks was a little too rough. And late in the session, he's going for it. Earlier in the lap, he just kisses the wall, and it knocked the toe out on the car. So now, and you know, they've got that little, usually it's a yellow stripe that goes around top dead center on the steering wheel. He's literally driving with about instead of a 3 and 9, he's at about an 11 and a 5. You know, that's straight, right? And is still laying down this lap, comes into that last chicane, turns through that tire chicane as he comes out right into the wall, breaks the suspension on the rear end, but all the half shafts and driveline was still intact and just broke the suspension. The car's crabbing, never lifts, grinds down the wall, takes pole.
I love it.
Brilliant.
It was everybody we're all just going, did I just see that? It was unbelievable. But yeah, that's the commitment these guys have. They're just, like I said it before, they're wired differently. It looked like they were well into that cleanup for the Performance Tech machine of Ostella over there. Yep, they've already got it back on the back of the tilt bed.
To be fair, to look at it, it looks as though it's certainly reparable and fairly quick. You know, I wouldn't have thought. I mean, you never can tell, but the damage, as long as there's no suspension damage, it looks as though it could be fixed fairly swiftly.
Yeah, I mean, these cars, if it didn't tub it, you know, then it's just bolt-on bits and it should be okay. Yeah.
If it's not.
Yeah.
we just don't know what engine damage was done, because that angle of impact and with the way that the wheel is wedged, we don't know what parts could have gotten punched through. And
that's exactly it.
yeah. Sometimes it's the most innocuous of hits that cause most damage. So we'll have to wait and find out.
Wait a minute. It's innocuous.
Oh, stop it.
She's educated. You know
word.
that. Don't be intimidated.
Innocent.
Don't be intimidated by her big words and long hair. Great.
Yeah, don't. Just don't.
I'm not intimidated by your long hair.
Yeah, well. That's true.
And we're back to
Nothing
green.
to be
And we're
intended.
back
Look
to
at that.
green, moving
That's
right
an impressive cleanup, actually, by those guys.
That is.
Getting that done that fast. So now the only issue is, as you said, they get that guaranteed 10 minutes, but now they got to go out and do that whole tire warm-up process one more time. So it'll be this outlap plus one more before we start to see some real representative times start to pop up on the order. And but I'll tell you what, as we've talked about, the group of drivers here, these guys could pull off some absolutely superb stuff.
And it shouldn't make too much of a big difference in their tires because the heat cycles that these tires do go through, they don't typically come in after one lap. You wouldn't think that these guys would have their tires up to the optimum temperature. And thankfully, Ostella's accident happened within the first lap.
Yeah.
So I think it was only Rahal who got past the line before it was red flagged. So these guys would have known fairly early on in their outlap to back off and to save their tires for that premium run.
Again, this is a class everybody running on a controlled tire, the Continental tire. In this class,
Ooh.
is that Hawksworth?
That's Hawksworth.
Boy, he's going awfully slow now.
He's either looking for a gap or I don't know if he's
off
looking
in the
for a
junk
gap
right now. So
yeah, I'm gonna say he didn't want. No, he doesn't want to drive. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't want to drive on that junk. He really doesn't because there's a problem for sure.
He still has his lights on, so it's not electrical. He hasn't lost power, but he might be stuck in a gear.
That could be.
The lights are on, but nobody's home.
Or his pit lane limiter could be on because he is going very, very slowly. Constantly checking his mirrors, though, aware of traffic and who's around. He does not want to take the chance of screwing up someone else's lap.
And that's what he needed to do right there, is get it off of the line, get it off track. And now he's brought it to a stop. Now the question is he deep far enough off track where they don't think they have to go get him? And once again, rocketing out of that last turn comes the orange 8-star machine and crossing the line. And there's discussion in race control about what to do here with the RSR entry, the 09 machine of Hawksworth, the 8. I'll get it right one of these times. I got on either side of it.
Yeah, you did.
I'm averaging is what I'm doing.
You said it.
I didn't say, well, I am. I'm just average. That's true.
So
there was an ing on the back of that, my friend.
If you're sitting on the pit box for one of these teams and
Yeah.
you're hearing that race control is having discussions about what to do you tell your driver to back off, or do you tell him to go hard and get a lap in while he can?
Yeah, well, the issue is right now they really need one more lap here before they're going to be able to get any kind of representative time. So if there's discussion, somebody is that what you saw?
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I saw that live, and then they cut away from it. It was right at the top of turn 1. There's a big plume of smoke coming out. I don't know whether it was braking or whether it was actually mechanical, but you could see the smoke flying in the air there at turn 1.
There's the guy, Colin Brown, who is the pole meister in this category. They too, I mean, it's been interesting. There's some guys that have stepped up to the plate though to make things real interesting for them. And at this point, no further word from race control about stopping or anything on the like. So apparently they feel that things are okay to let this session commence here.
I think Hawksworth did a good job of getting it off the line and putting it in a sensible place that made sure that they didn't have to stop the session. And they can get to him. You see, they can get to him without. He's at it's actually where the cutoff is. Remember when they had the V8s here?
Yeah.
You can pull off there, and that's the short circuit here at the circuit. So it's a smart move to get there because they can get to him, more importantly, without going on the track.
Yeah, but they'll just cover it with a local yellow and get that car moved quickly and let this continue. And here we go onto the front straight. This should be our first time that will give us an indicator. Number 25 comes by and waiting for him to cross the timing beam. Sean Rahal jumps to the top at a 2:01.354. 2:01.354 on his first lap. Renger van de Zen at a 2:01.7. That's the number 8 machine right here, the beautiful Martini liveried entry from Starworks.
John Martin up into 3rd with a 2:02.6, and Colin Braun back into 2:02 with 2:02.8. He's back in 4th right now. I think he's going to want to string together a quicker lap than that, though.
Oh, absolutely. Gunnar Jeanette jumps to 3rd.
Yeah, that was what I was talking about earlier.
That's just brake lock.
Yeah,
up, and it was a bunch from Bruno Junqueira, yeah.
Bit of a brake lock, though, wasn't it?
Well,
that's what's so tough about turn one. It's uphill. It's, you know, when you're braking in, you know, you're not ready. You're either too early or too late. It's so easy to get wrong.
We're just watching Johnny Mollum's car right now. That is not a happy-looking machine. It is twitching all over the place. Brake bias might be off. It looks like when he comes into the corner, it's just the rear is stepping out on him, and he is fighting that machine.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have a lot of time in that car, obviously.
Yeah, zero.
He's got a ton of experience in prototype machines, but not necessarily this type nor that specific car. Here's a look at the number 85 JDC Miller entry, having a good run with Chris Miller and Steven Simpson at the controls. But the interesting story here is I'm a little surprised to see Martin Plowman at this point. But again, it's just that first lap back in 7th in class right now. And we'll see what happens now. The official time has expired, but as Shea was talking about, they're guaranteed 10 minutes of time. So the clock will continue to run and give them a couple of more laps. And here comes Sean Rahal. Ooh, beautiful little save there. The car stepped out, just quick hands on the wheel, made a nice correct onto the front straight. He comes, and let's see, a 2:01.3 was his previous time. Does he get underneath it, dip into the 2 minutes flat zone? A 2:01.1, so found a couple of tenths, Shea.
He did, but it wasn't enough to get beneath that 2-minute mark that we were talking about earlier. The record is well beneath what they're doing right now. That was with a different set of regulations, but the cars are pretty much the same. We're seeing the times come through, and Colin Brown goes to second with a 2:01.351. He's getting there.
He wasn't going to stay quiet for long, that's for sure. So it's Rahal, Braun, Renger van de Zende, and then number 8, Martini entry. John Martin, a good lap. Now you'd expect the team machine for the number 7, both from Star Works. Then Bruno Junqueira, then Gunnar Jeanette. Now is your top 6. Martin Plowman sits 7th. Steven Simpson is 8th. And Johnny Mollum, as you said, struggling a bit back in 9th right now. Here's Johnny.
Only able to pull out a 2:05.1, which is slower than what Ollie Gavin and Wolf Hensler were able to do in that last session. And both of them starting toward the back of the GT field. So as it stands right now, he's just not able to get a real handle on the car.
Well, and you're right. It definitely does not look like a happy machine. So there's obviously some setup work that needs to get done yet, as we're getting word that the checker flag might fly here momentarily. It is out. So the laps that everybody is on right now will count. And here the story is this guy, Colin Brown. Does he have enough? He needs to find .174 to get around Sean Rahal's time here. And Colin is certainly capable. He is something special in these cars. There is Sean Rahal, who is he's really been impressive here. You know, he's been good all season, but he's really come alive. That unique format at VIR, he really showed some people from some stuff at that one. Onto the front straight he comes, at a 2:01.178 was his previous best time. Let's see what he does. Does he pick up a little bit of pace? He does, a 2:05. He picked up a bunch. And here comes Colin Brown, dipping through turn number 20 onto the front straight, feeding it power. He now needs to find 8 tenths plus to unseat Sean Rahal. That will be a mega lap if he's able to do it. And no, he finds a bunch, gets down to only but half a second. Sean Rahal is clear. Bruno Junqueira jumps to 3rd in the number 09 from Rocket Sports Racing at a 2:01.260. John Martin still 4th, Renger van de Zende. And we'll see who else is out there. All of these guys have taken the checker. So here we go. This is the last group of cars that are going to be coming through. And I'm not sure we're going to see anybody able to find and better that lap of Sean Rahal. That was just brilliant.
It was almost Colin Braun-esque.
Yes,
the way
it was.
he managed to find half a second on everyone else. It's one of those things you're going, what shortcut are you taking?
Exactly.
That's what the other drivers would be asking.
Exactly. And you know what he is quickly becoming? An extremely valuable commodity. That wicked quick silver rated driver, Sean Rahal, is earning it. I mean, when you've got Luis Diaz in your team and you say, let's put Sean in the car to qualify, when they consider him on that level, yeah, doesn't it?
It's a huge vote of confidence, and it was well rewarded today as Sean Rahal comes away with the pole position for the PC category. Young guy.
Yeah, great future, that's for sure. Colin Brown will be
like
second.
19 or something.
Yeah, he's a
19
young
years
guy.
old.
Young guy, just really got it. Bruno Junqueira is third for RSR. John Martin is fourth for Starworks. Renger van de Zende, the Team Starworks car, will complete the top 5. Gunnar Jeanette for the Camp Boggy Creek PR1 Matheson Motorsports team is in the 6th spot. 7th is the 87 of Martin Plowman, one of the Bar 1 machines. And then it's a bit of a gap at this stage, back to 8th in that class. Steven Simpson doing a nice job at a 2:04.3. Yeah, so well off, about 3.8 seconds. And then Johnny Mollem, at least Johnny got out of the 2:05s and got into the 2:04s, but still a ways off. And because of that long extension, if you will, for the PC machines, we are already green for the prototypes. So it is time to get serious, folks. Not that the other classes aren't, but these boys are wicked fast.
This is where we're going to see the interesting times. Earlier in the day, we saw an absolute flyer from Alex Brundle. He broke down the times, a 1:58.292. Now, to put this into perspective, from the DPs, we were seeing 2 minutes flat. So Alex pulled a lap out of his bag of tricks, and then didn't quite do anything that close to it again. It was a one-off.
Yeah.
But it's very much a poker game in this category. When do you show your cards? How close do you hold them to your chest? And
how much time have you got to hold your cards?
How much time have you got?
Well, you almost wonder if when he crossed the line and that time came up, if he didn't jump on the radar of the team, go, oops, sorry, boys. You know, showed a little bit more than we wanted to. Nice job there for Sean Rahal. Yeah, he is happy, and he has earned it. Look at that.
And by the way, there's a local connection here as well. Speed Group, the local Austin-based company with Tony Calderon, have been looking after Luis and Rahal all season, and so that's a big celebration for Austin as well.
That's fantastic. So, well done indeed. And there is
Tony on the wall.
Enzo Potolicchio, who's the principal of 8-Star. He'll be racing as well. He's in the World Endurance Championship, or is he just playing team owner this weekend, I think?
Yeah, sadly he's not behind the wheel. Jeff Segal is filling in for him in the World Endurance Championship. But Enzo is always happy to be at a racetrack, and even happier when his cars are #1. So.
Exactly. Boy, he's got him spread too, doesn't he? He's got him in the World Endurance Championship, in Prototype Challenge, in the Cooper Tire Lights, where his kids run, and are starting to become pretty adept at that as well. But now it is prototype qualifying. There is your points leading car, the Action Express Corvette DP machine. Joao Barbosa, Christian Fittipaldi, the drivers in that car. And well, I'll tell you, 2 rounds left in the championship. Points are everything, and we've said it before many times. The best place to start, up front, be clear of any potential incidents behind you that might unfold. And so this qualifying session is mega. We should talk about, there is the car Alex Brundle is running, and that is the Oak Racing. And if you've been watching this season, they've been running an open cockpit Morgan Nissan chassis machine. This is the debut for the Ligier HPD power plant, and Alex Brundle has done the development work on that car. He's very comfortable with it. But for a guy who's also driven open cockpit stuff, you can see the limited view that you get from these closed cockpit cars. Boy, are they effective.
They are, and this is a very different view from someone like Gustavo Jachmann, Alex's co-driver this weekend. But Alex is familiar with the Ligier. He drove one at the 24 Hours Le Mans, and this year, the car that he's in right now drove and competed and finished the 24 Hours Le Mans. It was the 33 if you were watching. It was HPD. Yep. Alex is familiar with Nissan though, so this is a new engine power plant for him to adjust to as well. Given his time earlier that he managed to take 2 seconds on anyone else, I think he's pretty comfortable at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think that's any issue. As we ride on board now with the number 10, that's the Konica Minolta Wayne Taylor racing machine of the brothers Taylor. And interesting story here, folks. If you're used to obviously seeing 2 Extreme Speed Motorsports Tequila Patron Acura, or the HPD ARXs on track, this is the lone one here, the number 2 car. There's a reason for that. Johannes van Overbeek and Ed Brown running here. They're well placed in the championship. The number 1 car, normally shared by Scott Sharp, and a fairly talented driver named Ryan Dial, They decided, since they're out of it just a little bit in terms of the points, they wanted to take Tequila Patron and just introduce it to the World Endurance Championship. And so they're going to be running in that. So one of these beautiful green and black livery machines here, but in a driver who we have seen, I'll tell you, Johannes has been a star this year.
He has been. He's already got 1 win on the season at Laguna Seca, pulling it into the pits.
Yeah.
So he was doing a recon lap there. He was doing it out, checking things over. Maybe he was checking the track conditions on old tires. Brings it into the pits. They'll put some fresh tires on and send him out for a really good flyer.
Now let's see now as Brundle comes slashing by to the top at a 2:00.012. Second lap, Ricky Taylor in the number 10 sits in the second spot right now. Christian Fittipaldi is third in the number 5 Action Express car, but it's only 4th overall well, now Memo Rojas in the 01. That's the Chip Ganassi, Felix Sabates entry. The Telcel machine jumps up to 3rd, but still 4th overall with his time is Sean Rahal in the PC car. That's huge.
That is huge, but don't expect it
It's
to
not gonna
last
stay
too
that
long.
Yeah, once again, screenshot, and because it ain't gonna last, that's for sure. But it is something. But yeah, Brundle, boy, that margin 0.12 right now. So basically a 1/10 of a second. Here's the number 70. That is the Mazda Skyactiv diesel of the number 70 Speed Source team. Again, these guys are, not going to be a major threat for pole here. This is a very much a development year for them, and they just know it. They don't have the speed right now, but they have the commitment, that's for sure, from not just the team, and it's a great one under Sylvain Tremblay's leadership, but also from Mazda to get the Skyactiv diesel program and bring it up to be able to be a top flight engine in the prototype rank.
And they've already done great work so far this year. They've been setting reasonable goals for themselves. They know that they're not going to come out and win a race overall, so they try and figure out, okay, if we can get a top 5, that's a win. If we can make it through the race, that's a win.
Yep.
They're dealing with totally new components for this brand new car.
Yeah.
They're testing it on their own. They're doing it on a world stage, and they're doing a good job of it.
Yeah, they really are. There's just no quit in these guys. At every race, there's improvement. Oh, well, speaking of improvement, what is Alex Brundle going to lay down now? A 2-minute. Oh, Ricky Taylor though goes a 1:58.6 right in front of Brundle. Does Brundle have a response?
Yes.
A 1:58.9, 0.3 of a second. But Taylor in the number 10 Corvette, nobody. We saw nothing like this in any of the practice sessions here earlier from the DP-derived machines. But they had it. They were sitting on it, and they just, what was that? The gloves are off?
The gloves are now off.
Yes. Yeah, boy, what a lap by Ricky Taylor.
Wow. Ricky, who's also running in the World Endurance Championship this weekend, he was having a bit of a struggle trying to come up to temperature with the new C7R that he'll be driving. It's a very different beast from this DP. He is comfortable in the DP though, so for him to come out and set a time of 1:58.6, when the best time we've seen all weekend is a 1:58.2, there's still more left in the tank for these cars who are topping the charts right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was a scorching quick lap. Brundle, Rojas, Westbrook jumps up to 4th in the Visit Florida. That's the number 90 you're watching right there on the big screens and on IMSA.com on our global feed. Christian Fittipaldi is 5th. Negri and the Mike Shank Racing Curb Agajanian machine is 6th. And Eric Kern is 7th right now.
We ride on board with the number 90, and they had a bit of a rough morning this morning in the first practice that they had. They got nailed by a PC car that just seemed to miss their braking point and caused some front left damage to the car, but the crew being ever diligent got that fixed and got the car back out with time to go in the session.
Yeah, I mean, Westy was able to actually throw down a couple of pretty quick laps, so that was great. There is a look at Memo Rojas in that Telcel machine. Now that is one of the Ford EcoBoost engines, a turbo engine.
Ricky Taylor crosses the line yet again. Can he improve on his time? No, he doesn't. Just 0.3 slower though, so he was pushing that lap as well.
Now,
and Alex Brundle,
he sub 1:58 for the first time, a 1:57.809 second lap for Alex Brundle in the number 42.
Quicker than
yeah, that's mega right there. What a lap.
I was talking with Alex yesterday, and he said they're either going to get this very right or very wrong. And he wants to come out in qualifying and get the pole, because that is a personal victory. When you can say, I was faster than every other driver in the field, that's a sense of pride.
Yeah, well, absolutely it is.
And a big boost for the race.
Well, and how about this? I mean, the track record established in 2013 in the P2 category, just as a reference point, Marino Franchitti in an HPD ARX, the open, what the ESM car is out there, but on a different tire package, was a 157.4. This Ligier makes its first appearance, a fairly brand new car. Yeah, it ran Le Mans and the like, but first time at this track, first time in this championship, and he's within a couple of clicks of that time. That's pretty impressive stuff. And the old DP record set in 2013 as well by John Fogarty, a 2-minute, 0.1 second lap. So the prototypes, I mean, look at what Ricky Taylor did at a 58.6. That's the level of development that they put these DP-derived machines through with the extra diffusers and the downforce and the additional power and the like. It's pretty impressive in what we're seeing. And Christian Fittipaldi has now jumped to that car up to third at a 159.335 as we are under 5 remaining. Here he comes one more time, that Action Express number 5 through the final corner onto the front straight. See what he's able to do as he comes by. Again, a 59.3, his previous best. Through the beam, 59 flat. Not quite a 58, but as close as you can get.
And he was followed by Ricky Taylor, who did a 158.643. Not close enough, though. Even Alex's Brundle's last lap was 158.043, so 6/10 faster than Ricky Taylor's last lap. He's 8/10 faster overall, though, with his pole time. 157.809.
Yeah, that's just a phenomenal lap. And you know, everybody was wondering, okay, the closed cockpit version of these cars, how are they going to be? At Le Mans, you knew they'd be good because they can be made very slippery, obviously. You don't get air packing up into open cockpits and the like. But obviously, as a higher downforce car, they've been able to put some downforce on that car, and they needed it here, and they have hit that absolutely beautifully. Johannes van Overbeek now makes a big leap. He was back in about 7th spot outside of the 2-minute mark and just turned a 159.198, jumps up into 4th, pushes Memo Rojas and Richard Westbrook and Oz Negri back a spot. And again, this guy, what a story for Johannes van Overbeek. Prior to last year, he had never driven anything with wings and downforce on it that didn't also have fenders and a roof, and just has adapted to these prototype cars just wonderfully and very effectively when you take a look at what he's achieved this year. Boy, Brundle, that's what you call throwing it around.
Boy, Alex is not afraid. He is still pushing. 3 minutes to go. He's got pole by 8/10, and he's still pushing. That slide would cost him some time, but he wants to go for another one.
Well, you know what? This is all, every lap, every moment like that, everything that, it's all data that they're gathering for this car. And now he looks and goes, yeah, that was it. And if I do it again, I'm just going to hurt the tires a little bit. Time to bring it in. And you know what? If anybody could beat a 157.8, good on him.
Very much so, and that's sort of what he's saying. He's saying, that's what I did, gentlemen, go try and beat it. And Alex, who's affectionately known by many of his fans as Cookie Monster, I think he deserves one tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. That was something. Boy, I'll tell you, right up until that last one, look at the size of the dive planes on the front of that car. That's high downforce right there, folks.
Look at that look on his face.
Says it all.
Yeah, wow. That was a lap. Can I breathe?
Yes. He probably hasn't in about 14 minutes.
14 minutes, I know, it's impressive. You know, when a few years ago in the LMP1 category, when Acura came out with that amazing car in P1, and it had those massive downplanes, and I was talking to the team and Duncan Dayton, who was fielding, the car, and I said, with this, at what speed do you start to feel noticeable downforce? He said, 60 miles an hour. And I went, really? He was, yep. He said, so imagine what we're getting at 180. Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. And Brundle out and loving the moment. He's got to hang on here for another minute.
I don't see anybody doing it, do you?
No, I really don't either. I mean, Ricky Taylor is the only guy marginally close. and he's still got to find 8/10.
Well, he's put in a couple of laps that have been close to his best. His last lap was a 1:58.652. His best, a 6:43. So he is consistently at that 58.6 as we see a replay of Brundle hanging the tail out of the Ligier. But if Ricky is able to put in 6s consistently, can't see him taking 8/10 off that time.
Yeah, I don't either. I think it would be something miraculous for him to do it. Now, it might be a pretty good indication that they've got a very consistent race car. That's you know, equally important here. We can see he is not pushing very hard right now at all. He's conceded it because all you're going to do at this point, you know, it's a fool's errand, and you're just going to end up either hurting the car, hurting the tires, you know, whatever. So just bring it home. The question here is, Johannes, if he's still really pushing on it here, can he find a little bit to maybe get up into that front row? Looks like he's on it.
He's definitely not backed off. He's not short shifting, as you would see. The driver's lights over the steering wheel, they reflect when the driver should shift at the optimum time. And if a driver is taking it easy, he'll be saving everything. But he is full on it, and he misses pit lane. He's going across the line. Can Johannes improve?
Yeah, Memo Rojas just turned a great lap, jumps up to third at a 58.928, pushes Fittipaldi and Van Overbeek back a spot. So now this this lap for Van Overbeek, and I think he just came through and picked up the checker. Not going to be enough. Did not make any noticeable improvement. So there's the celebration down at Oak Racing, and yeah, the debut once again of this Ligier chassis here in the Tudor Series here in the United States. And what a great run. Jacques Nicolet and everybody there going to be absolutely delighted.